What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I'm going to try to pump out an extra video, so you're probably not going to get as much rambling, and probably to your delight, to be honest with you, on this one or the next one, as a matter of fact, because there's some information I just want to get out there. My next video might be a little bit more rambly because of the topic, but, you know, if y'all check that out, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But let's go ahead and get into this thing right quick, because got to get this information out there. That is part of the reason of the existence of this channel. Check this out, y'all. House Republicans oppose budget bill with tax cuts for Americans in betrayal to Trump. Oh, they're considering this a betrayal. That's how they're trying to drum this up. This is right-wing news, by the way, so take it, you know, with a grain of salt. Any opinions you might hear in this thing, in the article itself, but it's pretty good. It's pretty fact-based, if you will. There's not a whole hell of a lot of opinion, so just you know, I always like to be transparent about that, because I always read left-wing news, and most of the long-time viewers of this channel know that, but, you know, we're constantly getting new people coming in, so just to be transparent, I always say that right off the jump. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, sign up, become a member. That would be the best way to help me out. I would greatly appreciate that, you guys, if y'all could do that. That would be, y'all would be the best in the world if y'all could do that. I would be eternally grateful. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can, but let's get into it, y'all. A group of fiscally conservative Republicans broke ranks with President Donald Trump on Friday, voting against a budget bill loaded with tax cuts for most Americans due to concerns about its funding. During a U.S. House Budget Committee vote, Reps Chip Roy, who is my favorite congressman, by the way, for reasons like this, Josh Breachin, Andrew Clyde, and Ralph Norman, and Lloyd Smucker, I almost said Schmucker, joined all Democrats in opposing the bill by a 21-16 margin. This vote blocks, at least temporarily, House Speaker Mike Johnson's plan to bring the tax cut legislation to the full House floor for a vote as soon as next week. The dissenting Republicans argued the bill would significantly increase the national debt, which currently stands at $36 trillion, without adequate offsets through spending cuts. Yes, folks, we need more spending cuts, and we're not getting enough in this budget, and that is why Chip Roy and all these other congressmen are opposing this. We need more cuts. Folks, in case you didn't know, our deficit under the last fiscal year was $1.8 trillion. That means almost the entirety of the federal government was funded in a deficit. In other words, if the government could not spend money that it didn't have, if it didn't have to print dollars to fund the government, we would not have a federal government, folks. We would not have a Department of Defense. All of our tax revenue would go to pay for Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. That's fascinating, don't you think? Most of it, right? Although the GOP proposal includes hundreds of millions in Medicaid reductions, budget analysts say these cuts fall far short of covering the projected cost of the 4-year tax breaks. Yeah, they're kind of right about that. Despite voting against the bill, the holdout lawmakers indicated they were willing to stay in Washington over the weekend to continue negotiations, suggesting progress may still be possible. Rep. Joey Arrington, chair of the Budget Committee, stated after the vote that no further action was expected on Friday, as Trending Politics reported. He told those in the hearing room, "I do not anticipate us coming back today. Go home," amid some crosstalk. The tax cut package, officially titled the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Really? That's what they titled that thing? I didn't know that. That's freaking hilarious. Spans 1,116 pages and has been a source of division among Republicans regarding its spending and tax priorities. That's fascinating. That is, I would say, a step in the right direction, considering last year's omnibus or reconciliation bill, whatever the hell you want to call it, they're kind of the same thing, if you will, was like almost 6,000 pages. That's a significant cut right there. but not enough, apparently. Moderate Republicans, such as Rep. Mike Lawler, have expressed reservations about the bill due to its limited increases to the state and local tax or SALT deductions, an issue important to voters in suburban districts. Meanwhile, anti-war conservatives like Rep. Tim Burchett have criticized Pentagon earmarks within the bill, saying they contradict the MAGA goal of reducing U.S. involvement in overseas conflicts. Now, I like Tim Burchett. He's a pretty good guy from what I can tell. His voting record is spectacular. But I kind of disagree with that. I like having a big military, if you will. Now, does Doge need to go through, which they are? Yes, they need to go through, and, the military needs to stop being taken advantage of. Because we all know that it's kind of tropey, if you will, that the military is going to pay, $50,000 for a damn toilet, or $50,000 for a paper towel holder, or some ridiculous nonsense like that. I think that needs to come to an end, folks. The military needs to be treated as any other customer would. It's insane that they are treated in that fashion. The bill's fate is being closely watched as a significant test of Speaker Mike Johnson's leadership, who has faced several attempts to remove him from his position. Yeah, as a matter of fact, he has. Trump remains supportive of Johnson, but has set a Memorial Day deadline for passage of the tax cut legislation. Sorry. I got slipped up there for a second. If approved by the House, the bill will move to the Senate, where Republican senators have shown more skepticism towards some of the House GOP's proposals. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, who is not a Republican, by the way, has publicly vowed to oppose efforts to limit Medicaid access for low-income Alaskans. Sorry. Don't know why that took me a brief second to read. It looked like Arkansans. I don't know why it looked like that, but it did. Sorry about that, y'all. I get things wrong, or sometimes my vision gets blurry because... Can you read that from here? As a matter of fact, it's about that far away from my face. Can you read it? Stop yelling at me, by the way. Stop! Just kidding, y'all. Other Republican holdouts, including Senators Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, and Susan Collins, also create obstacles for Majority Leader John Thune in securing Senate passage. With unified Democratic opposition, Thune may look to moderate Democrats like Senator John Fetterman, who has increasingly challenged his party since Trump's presidency began and represents a state Trump won. Yeah, that's right. John Fetterman. Look, I was in the utmost opposition to him becoming a senator. I was like, what is wrong with the people of Pennsylvania because of, the stroke he had and all the issues, blah, 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 blah. You get it. But you know what? I will eat crow right here on camera. John Fetterman has been pretty good. Not all the way across the board, right? He campaigned as a hardcore left progressive, but he has come out as much more moderate and much more sane, if you will, right? Maybe he campaigned like that, in some fashion. That's not what we saw from what we got from the corporate press. But once again, folks, the corporate press lies for a living. This is what they do. They manipulate everything. So always, this is what I would suggest to everybody, always keep your preconceived notions teetering on the brink of going either direction, right? You should never be, solidified in your preconceived notions. They should always be fluid. Always be fluid, folks. But, it's really hard to get all these people to agree to anything. I think, personally, because of the deficit, and that's the only reason. Look, I don't want to see cuts to Medicare, Medicaid, blah, 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 blah. You get it, right? Nobody wants to see that. However, it's not a question of should we have Medicaid cuts. It's can we afford to not have Medicaid cuts? Is what I'm getting at. We're funding the government in a deficit. We cannot continue to do that indefinitely. At some point, deficit spending must come to an end. All these people need to get on that page. That must end. We need to get away from that. Whatever we got to do, right? Like I argued the other day that these tax cuts do not help that. They just don't help that at all. Now, if this is the same tax cuts that we've been living with since 2017, then I don't know why they are constantly, bringing it up as if they are new and further tax cuts. I don't think they are. I think this is the same tax cuts that we have been living with. So I'm not sure where the arguments fall on that, right? Keeping these same tax cuts, that's just going to keep the status quo. But, the status quo hasn't been all that good. Can we maintain our country spending in a deficit like this? And I think not. Now, I understand, there's a lot of spending in the government that just doesn't need to be there. folks. And I think that's where this needs to start. That's where Doge needs to start. They need to get rid of all the discretionary spending. Like most of it, because all of it's like pet projects, or we want this statue of Nancy Pelosi type of stuff going on, and I think that's utter garbage, if you ask me. If these people were genuine about reducing the deficit, they would start with that. Abso-freaking-lutely, right? Trump came in and he's helping a lot, shutting down USAID, canceling all these grants, shutting down the Department of Education, right? These are great things. That is a good start, but the president can only do so much. Everything has to be codified by Congress. They have to come in and put the cherry on top, for goodness sakes. They are the ones to come in and finish the job, if you will, to caulk the window out. But I said I was going to be, a little less rambling on this one, so I think that's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. I would really, really appreciate that if y'all could do that. Like I said, sign up, become a member. It's the best way to help me out. I really need y'all's help on that, like on a serious note. Really do. Y'all share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. And outside of that, y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.